Welcome to the Futures Lab. So today is part 2 of our BattleCat tutorial, and in this part we're going to be adding in the dog base that's going to spawn dogs that are going to start from the right side of the screen and move to the left side of the screen, and they're going to fight any cats they find. So yeah, battle dogs, I guess, in our BattleCats game. And we are also going to program both our battle cats and our battle dogs to, when they fight, after a certain amount of time, they can be thrown back, sort of fly backwards. So the first thing that we need to do is, I think this cat base is a little bit too big. So I'm going to go to the cat base. The size of my cat base is currently 100. I'm going to change that to 80. And if I start the game, yeah, that looks pretty good. Actually, a little bit higher. I want just there. Perfect. That looks like the cats are coming out of the cat base. So with that out of the way, let's create our dog base. We're going to do something very similar to how we did the cat base in part 1. Go to the bottom right corner of the screen, click on choose a sprite, type in buildings, select the buildings sprite. In the top left corner, click on costumes and choose one of these buildings that you like. I think I like building B for this one. So I'm going to delete all the other costumes aside from building B. And then what I'm going to do is, in the bottom left corner, I'm going to click on choose a costume. I'm going to type in dog, and I'm going to get dog 2A. You can choose a different one if you like. Now, with this particular sprite, we can delete all the legs and tail like we did with the cat when we were getting the cat head and the cat building. But this is where things get interesting. This is how do we get rid of the dog body? So what you're going to need to do is look in the top left corner, not in the corner, look for ungroup. Just where I'm wiggling my mouse now. Click on that ungroup, and what that will do is it will separate out a lot of these parts of the dog. And the next thing that we need to do is click on reshape, this sort of mouse cursor with a kind of little dot underneath it. And then once we click on this, you'll notice that we have these little dots that make up the dog shape. So you can actually delete these like so. Oh, let's try that again. What about if we try this one? What about... Yeah, that looks better. Okay, there we go. So now we've got our dog head. So select that, and again you can either copy or Control C, and then on the building costume you can Control V or paste. Okay, another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go flip horizontal. Just this tool here in the at the sort of top of the sort of drawing area, just so that the dog face is facing the other way. I think I like that where it is. That seems good. And yes, so we've got our dog base. So again, let's change this size to 80. Let's rename this sprite as dog base. And then let's move this dog base over here. I might make it just a little bit bigger so that it looks about the same size as the cat base. I wonder if even 100 is good. You know what, I think that looks pretty good. Maybe 95. You can choose whichever size you like for your dog base, and of course it's very easy to change this later. So now that we've got our dog base sprite ready, we're going to update the code in our cat. So click on the cat sprite, and what we're going to do is we are going to first we are going to get out our define update thrown meter and define thrown back. So what I want you to do now is I want you to go to control the orange category, look for define thrown meter. Now in our code, this happens when our individual cat clones are in the fight mode, which means that they have touched a dog. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to get out an if then, put a touching dog, so if touching dog then, and then go to variables, click on make a variable. We are now going to create a thrown meter. This is a meter that's going to slowly fill up, and when it gets to a certain number, which is 50, it's going to make the cat throw themselves backwards, and then it's going to empty again, reset itself. So we are going to click on for this sprite only and call this thrown meter. Okay, so now we've got this variable. If you look in your game screen, you'll see you've got a variable called cat : thrown meter. Very important that you clicked for this sprite only there. So we're going to get change variable, click on that white triangle, change it to thrown meter, and then just so that it's not too predictable when our cats and dogs fling themselves backwards, we're going to go to operators, the green category, and get out pick random 1 to 10. Put that on top of the 1 in our change thrown meter by. So now you should have if touching dog, then change thrown meter by pick random 1 to 10. Okay, so this is going to slowly fill up that meter. Now we need to decide what happens when that meter fills up. So look for define get thrown back. So go to control, once you've found define get thrown back, grab out an if then go to operators, the green category, and we need a more than operator. More than operator is this one here. It's 6 from the top. It's an arrow pointing to the right. That means more than. Then go to variables, get out thrown meter, and in fact this looks good. If our thrown meter has gone over 50, then we're going to reset the thrown meter back to 0 so they don't keep throwing themselves back. So get out set variable, click on that white triangle, so yours might say set HP like mine does. Then you click on thrown meter, so set thrown meter to 0, we're resetting it back, and then we're actually going to do the actual movement, that is the cat actually flinging themselves backwards. So what we need is we need to go to control, and we need a repeat 10. Put it right underneath set thrown meter to 0. Then we're going to go to motion, and we're going to get a turn, this one, the second turn 15 degrees. So that way is anti-clockwise, sort of, if you want to think about it that way, and type in 18 degrees. You can change this a little bit if you want, but this way will make them do a full sort of somersault backwards. And then we're going to get a change x by, click on that 10 and type in -1, because we want them to go left a little bit in each of these repeat 10. And then we're going to get a change y by, and then we're going to type in 3. So we should have this repeat 10, turn anti-clockwise, 18 degrees, change x by -1, change y by 3. That's going to be the first half, where they sort of spin around like this and go up. Now we need to make them come back down again. So right click on that repeat 10 and then select where it says duplicate. And you should have a complete copy of everything that's in that repeat. Now put this right underneath the other repeat. Make sure it's not stuck up inside. Make sure that it's still inside the if thrown meter. Put that there. So now they should be nicely lined up. And all we need to change here is our change y by 3. Click on that 3 and type in -3 because they've reached the top of the sort of being thrown back, the jump, and now they're going to come back down again. And because we're repeating this 20 times 18 is 360, which if you know your maths is a full circle, so they're going to land upright again. Okay, so this is the code you should have for underneath define get thrown back. Make sure that your x's and y's are in the right place and that your minuses and not minuses are in the right place. So let's test this out. We'll make this nice and big. I'll summon a bunch of cats. Currently we don't have our dogs coming out of the dog base just yet, but these battle cats should hit up against this big dog and they should flash for a little bit and then they should fling themselves backwards eventually. There we go. And in fact, they're all taking damage because they have code which makes them take damage. And there we have it. Very nice. So if you wanted, you could change this code, maybe remove the turn if you just want them to kind of remain sort of like fly up like this and land without doing the turn. That's fine. So what we need to do next is we're going to put in some code that deals damage to the dog base when it touches the dog base. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy all of this code from the cat to the dog. There's a reason why I've set up all this code first and the cat. It's so that it's going to make it easier to copy it to a new sprite, the dog. And so first what we're going to do is we're going to go to control and look for check for enemies. So if you find define check for enemies, let me make that nice and big for you guys so you can see it. There we go. Now make a little gap right above the wait 0.1 seconds and fill that gap with if then. So now we should have an if then. We're going to go to sensing the light blue category. We're going to drag out touching mouse pointer. Click on that white triangle, change mouse pointer to dog base. So if touching dog base, then go to motion, get out a change x by, and then type in -3. This means that the cat is going to come up against the dog base and it's going to move backwards a little bit. That's just kind of, so it looks like the cat is kind of going into the dog base like this. It also gives the dogs, it's just sort of a strategy thing. It makes the game flow a little better. The cats can move back a bit, so there's a chance for the dogs to get in between their base and the cats. You can change that if you like, but I quite like having this here. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to variables. We're going to click make a variable. And this needs to be for all sprites. And we're going to call this dog base HP. And I say HP, you might think of it as hearts or health points or hit points. And we are going to grab out change dog base HP, put it underneath our change x by -3, click on that 1 and type in -1. This is going to make the dog base HP go down by 1. Okay, we now have, I will just leave that on the screen for you just to make sure you've got everything you need for define check for enemies. We should now have most of the code that we need in the cat sprite. We're going to be adding in more to this when we have more types of dogs to interact with. But this is now a good point at which we're going to copy this across to the dog sprite. So what we're going to do, the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to right click on our cat sprite and I'm going to duplicate it. So now we should have a sprite called cat2. We're going to rename this dog, and we're going to go to costumes for our new dog sprite, and we're going to give it the costume of dog 2A and the costume of dog 2B. I'm going to delete these cat costumes. Now we need to change some things in our dog sprite. So first of all, we need to make our dog go to the opposite side of the screen. So look for when green flag clicked in the dog sprite, and change our new dog sprite. We should now have a dog and maybe dog and dog 2. So our new dog sprite, go when green flag clicked, select where we've got go to x minus 180 and type in 180. Remove that minus so that they go to the opposite side of the screen. Then look for when I start as clone and look for change x by 3. That is the right direction, and we want our dogs moving left. So put a minus in front of that 3 and they'll start moving left instead. Now have a look for check for enemies and change if touching dog 2 to if touching cat, and change if touching dog base to if touching cat base. And then look for update thrown meter and change if touching dog 2 to if touching cat. And that might be, oh wait, there's one more thing we need to do. We need to go to get thrown back. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some clockwise turns and replace the anti-clockwise turns. So change those turns, but still keep them, but put into the new turns 18 degrees so that they are turning in that direction instead of that direction. They're turning clockwise instead of anti-clockwise. And the only other thing we need to do is change the x from -1 to 1. And that should be everything we need in our new dog sprite. So we've got our dog 2 sprite, our original, just our big dog out here. Delete that one. We don't need it anymore. Make sure you keep the new one with all of our changes there. And the only other thing that we need to do is go into our cat sprite and make sure that where it says dog 2, you've selected dog instead. There are other ways you could copy the code across individually, but I thought this would be maybe a little bit easier. You can copy this code in any way that you like. Just go through, make sure that all the directions are correct. And also one more thing we need to do is we need to create a cat base HP. So go to your dog sprite, go to variables, the dark orange category. The top left corner, click on make a variable, type in cat base HP. Make sure that it's for all sprites. And look for define check for enemies. And look for if touching cat base, then change x by -3. Change that to 3. And then change dog base HP to change cat base HP by -1. Okay. So, there's in fact only a few more things we need to do. Have a look in your game window and you should see dog base HP 0 and cat base HP 0. So drag these variables so that they are underneath their buildings. You can even right click on them and select large readout. There's just a big number if you want. Make it so that they're underneath the buildings. And then we need to make sure that the dog base and cat base have some HP at the beginning of the game. So click on dog base, go to events, and drag out when green flag clicked. Okay, underneath that, we're going to go to variables, the dark orange category, and drag out set dog base HP to, let's say, 1,000. You can change this if you want. And then also, while we're here, we might as well make some code that repeatedly makes dog clones, our battle dogs. So we're going to go to control, we're going to get a forever. Inside the forever, we're going to put a wait 5 seconds, and then we're going to put a create clone of dog. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll need to make sure that the cat base has 1,000 HP as well. So go to the cat base sprite, go to events, drag out when green flag clicked, then go to variables and drag out set cat base HP to 1,000. All right, let's test our game. Just going to set this like here so that my video camera is not in the way. All right, so let's start. And what we should have is, so the dogs are being spawned. They are going backwards, however. And there's an easy fix for that. But I can summon these cats and the fighting seems to be working. So we have this code that increases this variable that is individual to each of the individual clones, the thrown meter, and it increases by random increment, so it's not too predictable. And they then do this cool kind of backward somersault after a while, looking like they've been thrown back while they've been fighting. So that's pretty cool. So the only thing that we need to do, there we go. And it doesn't happen too often, because if it happened too often, it would be kind of annoying. And what we're going to be doing is later on, we're going to be creating different types of units, and those other units, those other types of battle cats and battle dogs are going to be stronger. So they actually throw other enemy units easier, and they are harder to throw, and they have more HP and they deal more damage and that kind of thing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the dog sprite. We're going to go to the top left corner to costumes, and we're just going to go flip horizontal on both of these dog costumes. And now what we should have is dogs that are going in the right direction, the correct direction. They're actually facing left. That all looks good. Excellent. And what I'll do as well is let's do a quick test to make sure that the dogs can deal damage to the cat base and the cats can deal damage to the dog base. Let's start this again, and let's make the dogs speed up a little bit. Well, they don't seem to be going much faster. Oh wait, no, it's the wrong thing. Let me try. There we go. Let's speed this up. Good. There we go. And you can see as they touch the cat base, they deal damage to the cat base, and the same will be true of the cats. And in fact, if I show you that one more time, what you'll also notice is that what the effect is like once the dog gets close to the cat base. Let's make this nice and big so you guys can see. They'll kind of butt up against it and move backwards and forwards. There we go. I think that's kind of effective. So that's all good. What we need to do now is, in fact, just one last thing. Actually, what we'll do is we'll do one last thing. We'll go to variables. We'll get set, and then we'll change the state to fight, just like we've got set state to fight if touching cat. We'll do the same thing if touching cat base in the dog code, and we'll go to the cat code and we'll do the same thing, set state to fight if touching the dog base. So there we go, and that'll just sort of prevent it might not make too much of a difference if you put that little line in just to make the cats and dogs switch states from walk to fight, but I think it will help out later. So I hope that was an interesting one. As I said before, this way of doing it is quite fast and fun. There are better ways of handling the fighting. The main problem with this way is that the damage from multiple dogs all ganging up on the same cat, or multiple cats all ganging up on the same dog, it doesn't multiply correctly. So there are better implementations, but this is kind of fast and fun. And I highly recommend you go and look at the comments of part 1 and check out UJ's version of this sort of tower defense battle cats game. It's a lot more sophisticated. It uses tables to keep track of things. It's a lot more accurate with the way that it accounts for damage. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Next time we're going to start probably adding in the either we're going to add in the shop, or we might start adding in some different types of cats and dogs. And until I see you guys then, take care of yourselves and be cool to each other. We'll see you next time, ninjas.